Zombie apocalypse.
What's up guys, it's PatriotsMan here and I am back with another video. Today guys, we're going to be ranking every single Madden Max player from Madden Mobile 23. The categories are the best, great, average, bad, and the worst. I will be doing this on tiermaker.com, so if you want to rank all the players yourself, go to that website, search up Madden Mobile 23, Madden Max, and you will be able to do this list for yourself. So today, we'll be ranking all 45 Madden Max players, and I did hear some better things about the other middle linebackers, so I'm going to put TJ Edwards here in average in terms of these cards. Next up, we have Jalen Waddle. Now, there were some higher-end wide receivers that came out after Jalen Waddle and Cooper Kupp. From my personal experience, Jalen Waddle was fast, but in some other things, he was just not as good, but still, all Madden Maxes are great. So right now, these rankings are all subjective from person to person, obviously, but I'm going to put Jalen Waddle in average. I would put him between average and great if you could, but he's going to go in average for right now. Next up, Penei Sewell. I'm going to put all the linemen in bad because they simply were bad. O-linemen were terrible as a whole. So any offensive lineman Madden Max, I'm going to put straight into the bad category because as you guys know, offensive line was no help at all. Sometimes we try to tackle you, and I want to put it in the worst, but I want to reserve that for like special teams and just overall really bad cards. Next up, we have the Eric Berry safety card, and honestly, I may put all the safeties straight into at least the great category because overall, the safeties were making great plays on the field. So Eric Berry is not like the best of the Madden Max cards, but I would say Eric Berry was a pretty cool card. To get an Eric Berry card was awesome this year, so I'm going to put him in great. Next up is Chase Young. The D linemen were absolutely shredding. Now, I would say who was the best defensive lineman? I heard Trey Hendrickson was pretty good. Chase Young was solid, and we also had Ed Too Tall Jones. I'm going to put Chase Young in average because I don't want to put every single card in great or the best. I want those to be reserved for only like the best cards for these Madden Max players. Next up is going to be the J.K. Scott punter card. I'm going to put it in the worst because obviously you do not need special teams players. And of course, they were going to give us every position on our team to get a Madden Max card, so I'm not going to hold that against them. But in terms of ranking all the cards, J.K. Scott will go in the worst. Randall Cunningham, so a love-hate relationship with Randall Cunningham. Obviously, he is fast and overall was our first Madden Max quarterback. But at times, he would just overthrow for other people. My personal experience, he was solid. He was very shifty, so I'm going to put him in great. He is definitely not the best. And could he be average? He definitely could. But I do want to put Randall Cunningham in great because, especially when he first came out, he was pretty awesome. Next up, we have Ray Lewis. And I did hear some very good things about Ray Lewis. For Ray Lewis to get a Madden Max card is also a W. So I have to put him over the TJ Edwards for sure because TJ Edwards was a solid card. People liked him at the beginning, but when new middle linebackers started coming out, kind of like Ray Lewis, he was considered to be better than TJ Edwards. So Ray Lewis will go into the great category. Next up is Charles Woodson. Now, he was one of our first promo exclusive Madden Max cards, and compared to the other corners, I actually heard more about the other corners like Marshawn Lattimore and Denzel Ward. So I'm going to put Charles Woodson in average. Not that he was terrible, but compared to the other corners and stuff that I heard, that is where I will stick the Charles Woodson card. Now for Vince Wilfork, being how big of a DT he was, I'm going to put Vince Wilfork in the great category because disruptive on the inside. And being such a big body that he was, I do believe Vince Wilfork was the best Madden Max D tackle of this entire list. Next up is Vernon Davis. Now, a very fast tight end, a very fun card, and I wish I would have got him in a random or something. Unfortunately, I did not. Very fun at the tight end spot every single time. I am going to put Vernon Davis in the great category. Now, I'm already putting a lot of guys in the great category that I notice. I want to try to get more in average if I can and save the best for the best. Next up here is going to be Jim Taylor. Now, before we do that, I do want to put Vernon Davis actually in the best category because I did hear great things about Vernon Davis. Overall, tight ends are a great resource in this game. I know if I had Vernon Davis, I would have rostered him for sure. So overall, he is a pretty fun card. I wished I would have had it on my team. Next up is Jim Taylor. I'm going to put him in great. Being a fullback, you may overlook him, but Jim Taylor made so many great plays on the field for me and for a lot of others. Despite his size and stature, Jim Taylor was a very good card that played good in game if you used him properly. Next up we have Von Miller. Von Miller was widely regarded as one of the best linebackers in the game, and I believe it. He's in my team, makes some great plays. I've thrown a pick six to him a few times myself as well. And yeah, that's that. Now is John Lynch. John Lynch being a safety, and the fact that he has showed up on the film many times, I'm going to put him in the great category. Next up is Charles Haley. I didn't really hear too much about this card. It could be because he was a promo guy, and most people didn't build a linebacker or had built linebackers by the time that he came out. So I'm going to put Charles Haley at average because, again, did not hear too much about him as a whole. Next up, we have Marshawn Lattimore here. He is going to go in the best category. He was one of the best corners in the game, and I know a lot of people had him for sure. Next up, Rob Gronkowski. Based on name value and overall how good Gronk cards usually play, I'm going to put him in the great category, also for being in the Patriots uniform too. I myself did not get to use this card, but some people did, and I heard fun things about Gronk. Being a tight end, obviously, that's going to have its advantages. Since I put Vince Wilfork in the great category, I'm going to put John Randall in the average category due to having a D tackle already in the great category with Vince Wilfork. Next up, Kevin Byard. Again, a very good card. Most of the safeties played really well, so I'm going to put them really all in the great category and then move on from there. Next up is Randy Moss. This one, I believe, was the best Madden Max wide receiver that dropped in the game. I knew that he was a must grab when I saw him in the Patriots uniform, and also Randy Moss cards just play great all the time. He's like 6'4", 6'5", whatever it is, and he played like it as well. He was an absolute monster on the field, so he is going to go in the best category. Next up, we have Ryan Jensen. He's going to go in the bad, obviously. Adam Vinatieri will go into the worst, being a special teamer. Next up, we have Khalil Mack. Now, I don't know if I want to put him in average or great, because I didn't hear too much about him, and I also never got him on my team. I did pull him in a random, but considering that I already had some linebackers and had them leveled up, I never actually used the Khalil Mack. Since I have no experience with the card, I'm going to put him in average for right now and just leave him there. Next up, Trey Hendrickson. I heard great things about this card all the time, and he has been a menace off the edge, so I'm going to put him in the great category in terms of Madden Max cards. Next up is CMC. Now the big running back debate is upon us, CMC or Bo Jackson. I only got to use Bo Jackson, and of course, as we know, running really got nerfed as the season went along, especially during Madden Max. Some cards just did not feel the same. For that reason, I may just put both CMC and Bo Jackson in the average category, because running backs did not feel as good. Of course, they were the best running backs in the game, but in terms of impact on the field, were CMC and Bo Jackson really good cards in terms of gameplay. So for those reasons stated, I'm going to put Christian McCaffrey in the average category for right now. I could move them up to great, but definitely not the best. Next up here, we have Cooper Kupp. I'm going to put him in the great category because he has some really good run blocking. For the times that running was working with CMC and Bo Jackson, I would say Cooper Kupp was a great receiver option to block for those guys. So I'm going to put him in the great category because overall he was not the best, and he wasn't just average because that card played like a monster, especially when he first came out. Now quickly, I do want to actually move Vernon Davis back down to great because I want to reserve the best category for only the best cards, and there are some ones coming up that I want to put in the best category. So we're going to put Vernon Davis down here in the great category for right now. Next up, we have Darren Waller. Once again, he was a great Madden Max. I'm going to put him there alongside the Vernon Davis and all the other great cards. Now for TJ Watt alongside Von Miller, I would say he was the best of the best in terms of linebackers. You couldn't go wrong with TJ Watt or Von Miller, and I was very lucky early on to get 2 TJ Watts via randoms and foil him because that card was pretty good. So far in the best, we have Von Miller, Marshawn Lattimore, Randy Moss, and TJ Watt. Next up will be Larry Allen. He is going to go in bad. And then after him, we have Desmond King, punt returner. That will go in the worst. Now we have Foysad Oluokun. So compared to the other middle linebackers, I did hear about Oluokun the most out of basically any linebacker in this entire game. So the question is, does he go in great or the best? I don't think he was in that category of the best Madden Max cards, he was definitely really good alongside Ray Lewis. So I'm going to put him in the great category for my ranking. Next up is TJ Hawkinson, once again a tight end, not a bad card at all. I'll put him in great. Now I did expect to have more cards in average than great, but there were a very good amount of solid Madden Max players. Of course, none were absolutely game-breaking and completely overpowered, but I didn't expect to have as many cards in great as I do have ranked right now. Next up is Marshall Yanda. He's going to go in bad, obviously. Then we have Darren Woodson. Now I will be completely honest, I didn't hear a whole lot about Darren Woodson. In fact, when I played, I didn't really see much Darren Woodson either. So I'm going to put him in average for now and just put him there. I don't think he's going to be worthy of great just as of yet. Joe Thomas will go in bad, being an offensive lineman. Asante Samuel, I do believe he was average. He was potentially one of the worst in terms of corners. Again, not terrible, but he is probably deserving of the average category, so I'm going to stick him right there. Now we have Ed Too Tall Jones. Well, being 6'9" and just how massive he was, I think he is well deserving of that great category, so I'm going to stick him in great for sure. Now we have Bo Jackson. He's going to go alongside CMC here in the average category. I'm not going to put one running back ahead of the other. I'm just going to stick them in average because most of the time, those running backs were average at best in gameplay. Next up, we have the Calvin Johnson card. He will be going in the best alongside everyone there in the category right now, including Randy Moss. So he will go right there. Of course, being as big as Randy Moss, being like most Megatron cards, I heard so many great things about this card and all the plays that he made on the field. And by simply being Megatron, what else would you expect from a Calvin Johnson Madden Max card? I wouldn't expect anything less. I didn't get to pull his card personally, but I do believe all the hype around the card. Next up, we have Aaron Donald. I'm going to put him in the average category in terms of these Madden Max guys. Again, I do have the Vince Wilfork in the great category, so I'm going to keep him there and put the other DTs in the average category. Only 5 cards left to go now. For Denzel Ward, I would either put him in great or the best. Now, when it came to corners, just like the Randy Moss and the Calvin Johnson, the 2 cards I heard the most about were Denzel Ward and Marshawn Lattimore. So I think it's only fair, if I do put the Marshawn Lattimore there under the best, that I have to put Denzel Ward as well. So that's where I'm going to stick the Denzel Ward alongside Marshawn Lattimore and the other cards up there. I want to kind of group them by position here. So we have 2 corners, 2 receivers, and 2 linebackers among the best. Now we have a kick returner, Ray McLeod. Now I would put him in the worst alongside the other special teamers, but a kick returner could actually be useful, and his card was pretty fun for sure. Now, still being a kick returner, I'm going to put him in average. Of course, that's 2 spots above the worst, but I still don't want to put a special teamer really high on the list. He was a really great card though, so I will put him in average. Next up is Joe Burrow. So compared to Randall Cunningham, of course, I heard less bad things about Joe Burrow, but still, quarterbacks will be quarterbacks. I can't exactly put them in the best of the best. Kind of like the running backs, I put them in average because they could be iffy sometimes, and EA kind of nerfed the running here, so that's why I put those guys there. Last 2 cards, Sean Taylor and Patrick Willis. Being that both of these cards only came into the game in the last couple weeks, I didn't really get to hear a ton about these cards, so for right now, I am going to stick Sean Taylor in average, and same thing with Patrick Willis. Not that these cards are necessarily bad or even average, but I didn't hear too much about them considering the time frame in the game, so I'm just going to rank them there to be safe. But Sean Taylor, very happy he got a Madden Max, obviously, and same with Patrick Willis. So that there is going to be my full list of ranking all 45 Madden Max players that were released in Madden Mobile 23, from the worst to the best. So I had 6 cards in the best category: Marshawn Lattimore, Denzel Ward, Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, TJ Watt, and Von Miller. Again, if you want to rank these cards for yourself, go to tiermaker.com, search Madden Mobile 23 Madden Max. This should pop up, and you can do this list for yourself if you would like. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for this one. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.